All right, so Trump's corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. That's the subject of the riff tonight. Just in case you missed it, President Trump just updated the Monroe Doctrine with a clear-headed legal case and an incredibly well-executed military action taking out Venezuela's communist strongman and his wife. Here's Mr. Trump's definition of it all. Take a listen, please.
If you had to sum up Operation Absolute Resolve, would you say that it was about oil or it was about regime change?
It's about peace on earth.
How is it peace on earth?
Peace on earth. We gotta have peace. It's our hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine was very important when it was done, and other presidents, a lot of them, they lost sight of it. I didn't. I didn't lose sight. But it really is. It's peace on earth. Thank you very much.
Peace on earth. I think that's absolutely terrific way to put it. Personally, I think this was an historic action by Mr. Trump. And I think it's going to change the course of history, not only in the Western Hemisphere, but quite possibly in Europe and the Middle East and Asia. Mr. Trump is showing the remarkable strength of America. You know, he is a plain-spoken, common-sense president who says what he believes and then takes action. There's no room for communism or war or narco-terrorism in this hemisphere. Maduro was warned many times. He did not listen, and now he's paying the price. And it's just as in the bombing of the Iranian nuclear facilities or taking out al-Baghdadi or Soleimani. Mr. Trump warned, then took action, and then changed history. Well, he's doing it again, and I believe it is a truly great thing. And it makes America even stronger again, and it helps wipe the Biden stain from Afghanistan and other failures in recent years. And by the way, for those who may not have met him, the late President James Monroe, in his 7th annual message to Congress, that was December 2nd, 1823, issued a clear warning to the European powers that the United States would not tolerate any further colonization or puppet monarchs. Now, Mr. Monroe's doctrine has stood the test of time, has been invoked by a number of American presidents down through the many, many years. Most notably, I recall Theodore Roosevelt in Santo Domingo in 1904, and Nicaragua in 1911, and Haiti in 1915. John F. Kennedy used the Monroe Doctrine in the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. President H.W. Bush used it in 1990 in Panama to remove Noriega. But since then, presidents seem to have gone soft in the face of infiltration, even colonization from China or Russia or Cuba or Iran or Hezbollah or other American enemies. Lately, they've all congregated in an anti-American rat's nest in Venezuela, where the Cuban military and secret police have essentially taken control of the government and, to a large extent, the entire country. Venezuela's lost 3/4 of its entire economy, most of its oil production. But Chavez, leading to Maduro, have never cared about the rumination of the people of their country. The narco-terrorism and the exporting of cocaine was the tipping point for President Trump, I think. And so he launched a legal action backed by an unbelievable military force to stop the rot in Venezuela. Now, stop the rot in Venezuela, that could have a big influence in Colombia and Brazil, probably Cuba, probably around the world. Now, look, at the going may be difficult as far as democratizing Venezuela over time. Mr. Trump himself has even threatened a second wave. But I believe he will do whatever it takes to clean out the drug-infested communist precincts in our own backyard and ensure that the arc of history endures with American values of freedom and prosperity that will help all peoples. And that's my riff.